Okay, Mr. Elliott, well, I've got 10 minutes before I've got to start my Potter docket, so we're gonna have to move forward. I think I know what we're doing today, so um I I'll just watch the waiting room. And so we are here today set for a final. Although my understanding is we may have a different plan than that today. We are conducting this through Zoom, and we are also live streaming. And Ms. Goodman's making our record this morning, so we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Todd Albee on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready to proceed. Your Honor, I believe that the evidence today will show that we are attempting to reunify on a monitored return as opposed to any kind of a termination. So we will be asking that the case be extended after that monitored return is approved.
Okay, so we're not doing you're not requesting a monitor to return today?
No, we are asking it for it to today, but that will extend the dismissal date.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly. So
I'm sorry, I was overly complicating that.
Okay. All right.
That's usually my job.
Ms. Grant, are y'all in agreement with the monitor return?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. And Mr. Perez, I'm sorry that Mr. Taylor hasn't logged in yet, but are you agreeable with that, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And my understanding is Brianna's going to come see you for a summer visit this summer?
That's correct.
Okay, great. All right. And Mr. Hill?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Barfield's in favor of this.
Okay. All right. And Casa?
We're in agreement as well.
Okay. All right, then I will grant the monitored return to Ms. Kroll, and hope that Brianna and Mr. Perez can have some good quality time this summer. I know she's very, very active in her sports and everything, so you know, parents, y'all get to work around that. Okay, Mr. Alley, do we need to go ahead and conduct a review hearing?
Briefly, Your Honor, I think it would be beneficial if we could let Ms. Kopic give an update on where we're at.
Okay, all right, let's just go ahead and do that.
The girls are both doing well. Mom and Pedro are doing well. There's no concerns. Bree's in basketball, or she's going to be in basketball. She did a camp and had some time with her cousins and stuff this summer so far. And Cameron's just, playing, going swimming, doing that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And may I ask a couple of questions, Your Honor, just for the record? Ms. Kopic, my understanding is that you and Ms. Kroll have developed a timeline for the monitored return, and that has been gone over with her.
Yes, I went over that with her on Sunday, and they'll be placed back with her next Monday.
And she understands what the circumstances are and how that's going to work.
Yes.
Okay, that's all we want.
Okay. All right, Ms. Grant.
Nothing additional, Judge.
Okay, and Mr. Perez, anything that you need to talk about today? Questions or concerns?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Then Mr. Hill?
Judge, yes, Mr. Barfield is good with this. I recommend placement be continued, recommend monitored return take place.
Okay, Casa, anything else to add?
Nothing else to add. Lori's doing really good and the girls are happy and busy.
Okay. Sounds like we are on the right path. So I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the children's current placement. Approve the monitored return. Obviously, there's a schedule to that, and it sounds like everybody's agreeable to whatever y'all have worked out on that. So we'll get the kids home to mom here according to that schedule, and I will see everybody back on September 25th of 2024. That's a 9 o'clock docket, and we'll just have another review hearing at that time. Our final has also been scheduled for December 3rd of 2024 on a 9 o'clock docket, but things are going well. Folks, we won't be involved that long. So just get the kids home and monitor for a little while, and then if everything's going great, then we'll get out. So I doubt seriously we'll need that December date, but just so that everybody knows and can put it on their calendar. Okay, I appreciate y'all very much.
Thank you, Judge.
Yep,
And
y'all have a
Thank
great
you,
ready
Judge.
to proceed, Judge. I
You
just
too.
talked to her. She was going to Zoom in this morning.
Okay, I don't have her in my waiting room.
Casey Zavala on behalf of Isabella.
Okay. Mr. Hammond, watch for.
Judge, I know the dad was supposed to be getting on as well. I don't know if he's in the waiting room.
I didn't have either one of them in there. Just a minute. I had to hop off to a different screen to start the YouTube, but give me just a second and I'll be back in there where I can see it. Okay, then, we'll go ahead and get an update from St. Francis on how things are going.
Isabella's doing really well. She just had her well child check on the 10th and a dentist appointment yesterday, and she was originally on famotidine for her reflux and her aspiration. They actually took her off of that, and she has a swallow study tomorrow to reevaluate her surgery that she had last month to make sure it worked. She's walking 5 to 10 steps right now, unassisted, and then she kind of falls into foster mom's arms or whoever she's walking to. She is just on milk now. It's lactose free. And she is drinking out of a straw and eating big kid food now. So she's no longer eating baby food. As far as the parents, Chris has completed his services. The last 2 drug screens I've sent him for have been negative. His girlfriend Amanda is also drug screening for us. And I updated my court report to show that her drug screen I sent her for last month was positive for marijuana. She's also doing parenting for us right now and going to do one of the intensive background checks for us. As far as mom, she did go to rehab in June on the 6th and was kicked out the 11th because her drug screens were higher than her initial ones that she went in with. She's been very hard to get a hold of lately. We've gotten multiple incident reports on her the last several weeks, just stating that she's still using drugs and things of those sorts.
All right. Let me see if I had any particular questions. Just a minute. Is she still having visits, or have we stopped visits?
No, we stopped visits as of March 2nd, I believe it was. And all of her drug screens she's actually done for me have been positive at high levels for meth, marijuana. I think one of them had cocaine in it.
All right. What kind of visitation are we doing now with Dad?
He's still getting weekly 2-hour visits. I was gonna actually talk and see if we can go ahead and up those because he is doing really well. And his girlfriend is engaging very well with Isabella as well. So
I'm fine with it.
okay.
We'll see if everybody else is fine with it, but it sounds to me like, we're headed in the direction of Dad at this point. So,
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hammonds, anything to add?
Judge, I talked to Misty yesterday just briefly. She indicated to me that she had talked to another rehab that apparently would take her either insurance or, Medicaid, whatever she's on. But, I just told her it's kind of late in the game, but, you got to get yourself right first before we can do anything. So, I'll keep in touch with her. I think we're set for a final. It indicates August 15th. So, any rehab she goes into, I'm assuming is going to be a 60 to 90 day situation. So I'll just have to visit with her about that.
Okay. All right. And, I don't have Ms. Lucero, but it sounds like Dad's doing well. So Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, one thing I didn't see in the report, and I may have totally missed it, was just that Isabella has some orthopedic needs, and she had an appointment, and her scoliosis is getting worse, but everybody's monitoring it. But everything I have heard about Dad has been good. It's my understanding he's been going to medical. He's been focused on what he needs to be. And if I understand correctly, placement, who has been wonderful, has some other things going on in their home and is having to close their home. So we're looking at needing to find a different placement for Isabella pretty quickly. Now, my preference would be dad. I mean, he's doing what he needs to. He's, you know, Isabella's got some needs that he's learning about and girlfriend's learning about. I would prefer that the move from placement not have to include someplace else before her going to dad. So I am all for ramping up visitation and whatever we need to do to get dad ready for that.
How
would be
much
my
time?
preference.
How much time do we have?
It sounds like a 30-day discharge was put in possibly on the 4th. However, I mean, placement really wants to do everything they can to hold on as long as possible. So I don't know that July 4th deadline is hard and fast, but they've got a lot of issues in their home they're having to deal with. So we may have some flexibility, but not a whole lot in terms of that date.
Ms. Brooks, do you know anything on that?
Yes, we're actively looking. I did just speak with foster mom before the hearing, and she did say that they're willing to keep her until we find the right placement for her to go to or other things. As far as maybe placing back with dad. But they're willing to extend a little longer. They have some, like Miss Savali said, some things going on right now that they're having to close their home.
Okay. Well, obviously we, you know, regardless of how long they can hang on, I mean, we need to kind of move quickly, but I agree with Ms. Zavala. I mean, he's doing really well and his girlfriend's being supportive and is engaged with all this. I'd much rather try that if we think he's, you know, close to being ready.
And Judge, I have him by phone, just so you know. He couldn't get logged in, so he's on by phone, just so you know.
Okay, great. Okay.
The only stipulation of us returning her to him right now was he is living at his mom's currently, and that was the denied home study that we had. But I know they're actively looking for a place to live. I spoke with them Friday, and they were actually going to an appointment to look at an apartment.
Okay. So, I mean, kind of seems like everybody's on board with this, right?
Yes, man. Like Ms. Brooks just said, our only issue would be where he's living right now and where he's trying to move to, with the denied home study on his mother. Would prefer not to have to go that route. If he can get it into his own place before then, that would be preferable before placing with him.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that can happen. So, I'm good with it. And if Mr. Roop, if he can hear me, then
can you hear Baker? Okay, he can hear you, Judge.
Okay, then you know, I'm very pleased with all the progress that you've made and everything that y'all are doing. And you know, I'd say let's just, you know, buckle down and get done what we need to do so we don't have to, you know, move Isabella another time. You know, I think that's just every time we have to move, it's hard and it can be a real setback. So do the best you can to get housing and get that situation handled. Okay, then today I will continue the department as a temporary managing conservator, and I will continue her current placement, but I will approve the change of placement if we can get these issues resolved to dad. And then find that he is in compliance, find that Ms. Smith is not in compliance with her service plan, and that it would be a continuing danger to return the child to Ms. Smith. And really just the housing issue is all we're really facing with dad. So
and Judge, I can update everyone. I can be in touch with him and update everyone when I know he has a place secured to get her into.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, then I'll see everybody back. Our final is scheduled for August 15th of 2024. And we'll just kind of see how things are going and whether we're ready to wrap up at that time. We've got a little bit extra time as far as the dismissal date, so we'll see where we are in August.
And Judge, just for the record, since we did do an extension order already, that new dismissal deadline is December 13th.
Correct, thank you, yep. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Our
Thank
hearing
you.
date is set for a review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming and Ms. Goodman is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Christy Ashley is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Joel Jackson, representing Juan Valenzuela. I am present and ready, Judge.
Jeff Hill, standing in for Brooks Barfield, who represents Sophia Valdez. Judge, I am ready.
Savannah Kincaid, I've been appointed to represent Mr. Rodriguez, an unfound father, and I haven't had contact with him, but I'm ready.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of Ezekiel and Juan.
All right, so we'll get an update on how things are going.
Okay, so Ezekiel is doing very well. He completed 3rd grade and will be moving to 4th. He's enjoying his visits with Sophia, has made lots of friends in his neighborhood, and is just loving his summer. There's not much to update on him. JP is now, Juan, I'm sorry, is now pulling to standing. So he's progressing very well with his ECI therapies, and his therapist has ordered a stander for him. Nothing new to update on Sophia other than she did move from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom apartment in her sober living, and she has purchased a vehicle.
And how much visitation are we doing right now?
She started weekend overnights on May 31st. So they've had 3 full weekends, and we're planning to move forward with a reunification, a placement with mom on July 1st.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay, now Mr. Nowak?
Thank you, Judge. Miss Ashley, my notes from Mr. Jackson show that Mr. Valenzuela has been incarcerated throughout the duration of this case. Is that accurate?
That's correct. And I found out yesterday that he was transferred from Middleton to Formby in Plainview.
That was the information Joel wanted me to find out. Thank you so much, Miss Ashley, and thank you, Judge.
Okay, and Mr. Hill?
Judge, I don't really have much direction on this case from Mr. Barfield, but according to the permanency report and what was just announced, sounds like it's definitely moving in a good direction for Miss Valdez.
Okay. All right, Ms. Valdez, anything that you want to talk about today? Got any questions or concerns? Okay, I can't hear y'all.
Is it working at all? I'm just gonna speak up. Oh, wait. No, not right now. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, well, congratulations on all your progress. You're just doing great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, keep it up.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Kincaid?
Thank you, Your Honor. What efforts have been made to locate Mr. Rodriguez?
We have ran diligent searches on Mr. Rodriguez. I've called phone numbers listed on that with no luck. I've searched TDCJ for him. We're just not sure. I mean, there's not much else we can do, but just to continue to run those searches for him and to continue to try to call those phone numbers.
Okay, and if you ever do make contact with him, can you make his contact information available to me, please?
Of course, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. No other questions, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, I got to meet with the boys, and they are doing really well. And Ezekiel is excited about moving back with mom, and she's worked really hard, and it sounds like those visits are going really well. And he is having a great summer. He may end up being an engineer, with his Minecrafting ability. But the progress with JP is amazing. I mean, they have had all kinds of therapy, and he is really doing so much better. And I'm just excited to see this reunification happen.
Okay. So are we actively working under the reunification plan right now?
The reunification plan that we have drawn up will technically start on July 1st. As soon as everyone signed off on it, I'll be e-filing that.
Okay, all right. Okay, then, I mean, I'm showing we've got a dismissal date, August 26th. If we place with mom, then July 1st, are we looking at doing that as a monitored return at that time, Mr. Trout? Or are we just gonna hold off on that until we get closer to the dismissal date? What's the?
I think we're gonna hold off till we get closer to dismissal date. It'll just be a placement at this point. And then if that's where we need to go, we'll go that direction then, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, then today we're going to continue the department superintendent conservator will continue placement and move forward with the reunification plan on July 1st. Let's see, July 1st. I will find that mom is in compliance and that there's no longer a continuing danger to the child to return the child home. We're just working towards getting that, making sure everybody's ready for that. Would find there would be a continuing danger to return the child to either father as PDCJ, one is whereabouts are unknown. And I will see everybody back then for our scheduled final on August 15th. 2024, and that's on a 9 o'clock docket.
Judge, and I apologize for interrupting. If I may, I literally had one job for Joel today. And Miss Ashley, I wrote down what you said, but I can't read my own handwriting right now. What is the name of the facility in Plainview again?
Thornby.
Thornby?
Thornby.
Thank you so much. And I'm using that in lieu of asking for a breakout room. Thank you, Judge.
What would Mr. Jackson do?
He's probably rolling over wherever he is right now, knowing that me appearing on his behalf, I did not ask for a breakout room, which typically I call a Joel Jackson anyway. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, very good. Then I'll see everybody back August 15th. And Ms. Valdez, congratulations. I'm glad everything's going so great.
Thank you so much.
I am well. I do not have either parent logged in at this time. Before we call the case, can anybody kind of give me an update on what notice they've been given? And
Ms. Ponce.
We had made contact with the mother on June the 12th, actually June the 11th, and she was informed of the removal and the Zoom. We were unable to provide the Zoom link because she needed to hang up because it was an expensive call. And so we attempted to contact her the next day and we could not get through on the phone. We also attempted to contact her again through WhatsApp and we haven't heard anything back from her.
okay, and do we think that she and the father are together?
I would assume so. I haven't heard anything different.
Okay. Has the aunt been able to give us any other kind of information?
No, ma'am. We've contacted two aunts and they are unable to provide us with any addresses or anything like that. They provided us with the same phone number or the phone number through WhatsApp. But that's it. And we attempted to contact her again through WhatsApp right after the removal and have not heard anything back either.
Okay. All right. Well, what I'm really trying to determine is whether we think there's any possibility they're going to be logging in or whether I can go ahead and excuse Mr. Perales at this time. But it sounds to me like, Richard, it sounds to me like no one's going to appear. So I think it's safe to say you're free to go on about your day, and I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. We are here today set for an adversary hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming. Ms. Goodman is making our. All right. We'll take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present ready, Your Honor.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Zelenia.
Okay, and neither parent is present, and obviously we believe they're in El Salvador, so we've not been able to effect any kind of service on them, and that may take a very long time. The child has not been in the care of the parents for quite some time, based on what I've read. Child was in the care of an aunt who has essentially wrappered the child to the department. So we're going to go ahead and proceed and move forward today. So Mr. Trout, you can call your first witness.
Call Melissa Ponce, and how are you familiar with that case?
I'm the investigator on the case.
And how did the department become involved in this case?
I received an intake on June the 3rd regarding concerns with Zelenia being aggressive and assaultive towards her aunt, Miss Teresa Campos.
Okay. And what was were you able to speak to Ms. Campos?
Yes, ma'am, sir.
And how did, what was that conversation?
Basically, Ms. Campos had reported that Zelenia had assaulted her the day before on June the 2nd, and had broken her glasses. And so through that, she no longer wanted the child to remain in her home. Okay.
And you said Ms. Campos is her aunt?
Yes, sir.
And did you find out who Zelenia's parents are?
Yes, Zoila Aguilar Campos and Silverado Lopez is what the aunt reported.
Okay.
Were her parents.
And where are they living?
In El Salvador.
Okay. And the child was born in the United States, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Was there any other family members that could possibly be placement for Zelenia?
No, sir. We reached out to the other aunt, Maria Campos, in Houston, Texas, and she would not take her either.
Okay. And did she state why she wouldn't take her?
Due to the child's behavior.
Okay. So both aunts are aware of and have had issues with the child's behaviors?
Yes, sir.
Have you been able to get in touch with the biological parents?
No, I have not.
Okay. Were you able to get mom on the phone for a short period?
Yes.
Okay. But you weren't able to were you able to send her the link for today's hearing?
No, I was not.
And why were you not able to do that?
Due to her cutting the conversation short because the call was expensive to make. And we had set up a time the next day to contact her and were unable to make that call complete.
Okay. And on that call, was that you calling her or did mom call you?
The first call, the mother had contacted us.
Okay.
And the second call, we were trying to contact mom.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify why it was expensive for her. She was the one making the call.
Yes,
so she is aware that the child was in the department's care?
yes, sir.
Okay. How long of a conversation were you able to have with her?
Just a couple of minutes.
Okay. Did she mention to you where the father was?
No.
Okay. So you're not aware if he knows about the removal at this time?
I'm not.
Okay. What outside of the two aunts that are in the United States, are we aware of any other family members?
We are not.
Okay. How old is the child?
16.
Okay. Have you had conversations with her on whether there's any family other than the aunts?
We did. We had the conversation when I initially made contact with her. She herself had reached out to Maria Campos, the aunt in Houston, and she would not take her either. And so she was not aware of any other family members that would be able to take her in here.
Okay. So due to the child just being 16, having no other family members willing to take her in the United States and her parents being in El Salvador, was it determined that the department would take possession of the child?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking the court today to give the temporary managing conservatorship to the department?
Yes, sir.
And to see if we can figure out where the child needs to go or if she'll stay in the department's care?
Yes, sir.
And will that give us more time to try to get in touch with the parents?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Yes, sir.
How is the child doing now?
So far, she's done well. Placement reports no issues with her other than the language barrier. But other than that, she's doing well.
So is the child only speaking Spanish, or what language does she speak?
Spanish.
It's Spanish, okay. And she's only Spanish speaking?
Yes. She understands a little bit of English, but she can't really speak.
Okay. Is the child going to school? Do we have her, or was she enrolled in school?
No, she was not.
Okay. And is she just in a foster placement?
She was in a step ed.
Okay. Is she going to be moved anytime soon, or where is she?
My understanding is that she ended up moving to another step ed as of yesterday.
Okay. All right. Where is that step ed?
In Spring, Texas.
Okay. All right. And you do believe that due to the circumstances in the best interest for the department to keep temporary managing conservator of the child?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
She was born here. Has she been in the United States, or did she go back and forth to El Salvador with family?
She was born here. They were here for about 2 years, and then they went back. The whole family went back, and so she's been back and forth.
Okay. Has she ever been enrolled in school here in the United States that we know of?
She was enrolled last year in school. The aunt had put her in school, and I want to say that was in April of last year. And then the aunt took her back to El Salvador, I believe, in June of last year.
So she really has not been in school that much here to even start learning English.
No, when she was not in school, when she was back in El Salvador, is what she reported to us, and the aunt reported to us.
Okay. So we're way behind.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Zavala, questions?
Ms. Ponce, does she have her documentation, passport, ID, anything like that?
Yes, she's got her social security card and then her passport.
Okay, and she has it with her?
Yes.
Great. Those are all the questions I have.
Okay. All right then, Mr. Trout, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, at this time, did somebody start to say something? I'm sorry. Okay, Ms. Zavala, at this time, then you have a recommendation?
I do, Your Honor. I have not been able to speak with her directly yet. We were scheduled to have a meeting yesterday. Then we were informed she was moving, so we attempted to contact her during the move. Her personal phone was not working at that point. I have spoken with her new placement. We thought she was getting in at 7:30. Then that got moved back. But long story short, I should be able to speak with her tonight. Previous placement had really good things to say about how she was doing there. And it is my understanding that she absolutely does want to stay here at this point. But it is my recommendation that it is in her best interest that she stay in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department at this point.
All right, then at this time, I find the evidence is sufficient to name the department as temporary managing conservator, that there would be a continuing danger to return the child back to the aunt, and that we cannot place the child with the parents at this point in time. I suppose that's something we will have to explore, understanding what the child's wishes are, at 16. But, that would be impossible to do as of right now. So there being no other relative or anybody that can take care of the child, then, we need to take. We'll have our status hearing August 1st of 2024 on a 9 o'clock docket. I think it's imperative we continue, of course, to try to reach out to at least the mother that we've had some contact with, find out whether she and the father are together. I mean, I read some things in the underlying affidavit in support of removal, the child reporting that the father was physically abusive to her. So, you know, I think we need to know, are mother and father together? Would he be in that home? And then I suppose from there, if we need to look at placement, we contact the consulate and go from there as far as getting home study done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you all very much, and I'll see you back on August 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're here
Thank you,
today
Ms. Ponce.
for our final. We are conducting this trial through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are also live streaming, and Ms. Goodman is making our record. Okay. We'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Jeff Hill on behalf of Ms. Knight, Judge, she is seated behind me over my right shoulder back here. We're here and ready.
Jerry Morales for responding father, Ernest Hammond, Your Honor. I do not see him on the Zoom. I'm not sure if he's here.
He is not in my waiting room.
In the light of his absence, Your Honor, I'd like to move for a continuance, and I can make argument whenever the court's ready.
All right. We'll take announcements, finish announcements, and then we'll come back to you.
Savannah Kincaid, Your Honor, I was appointed as guardian ad litem for mother, and I'm present.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of Ryder.
All right. Mr. Morales, regarding your motion for continuance, Mr. Hammond was present at our last setting when we moved this, or when we set this as the final. So he was present at that time. Have you had contact with him since then?
Yes, Your Honor. It's been a couple of weeks. I did try to contact him this morning just to touch base, and I was unable to get a hold of him. I don't know if he has any transportation issues or anything like that, but he has obviously not completed services, but I mean, he's been engaging, doing visits, he's tested. So for him to just not be here is a little unusual in my opinion.
Yeah.
Somebody was going to give him a ride, but I don't know.
Okay, I'm not sure who's talking, but let me ask the permanency specialist, have you had contact with him recently?
Yes, ma'am. I spoke with him yesterday at about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I reminded him of court, and he said he would be there.
It was my understanding he was going to be in my office, Your Honor, and he did contact. I haven't spoken with him in a couple of weeks, but he did contact me, and I missed his call. I think it was Friday, and he told my legal assistant that he would be in the office, so I'm not really sure the issue.
Do y'all have a working number for him?
Yes, Your Honor, I did call it about 15 minutes ago. I called him earlier this morning, but then I called him again about 15 minutes ago just because it was getting close to the period.
From my understanding, his phone number is not working anymore.
The parents have still been living together, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I seen both of them yesterday.
Okay, well, let's find out from Mr. Hill's client if they have any idea where he is or if he's having a problem this morning or what.
Yes, Judge, they were just telling me, apparently he works out of town. He's supposed to be on his way back to town. His aunt, or I believe if I understood them correctly, his aunt is going to be picking him up and taking him to Mr. Morales's office. They fully expected to see him here, and they believe he's intending to appear, but apparently there's just some issue with him not getting back into town or something. They did directly behind me. You can't really see her, but Ms. Knight's grandmother is here, who gave her a ride. The grandmother gave Ms. Knight a ride here. They did stop over at his residence to give him a ride as well, but he wasn't there when they stopped. They expected he would be. But like I say, Ms. Knight is telling me that he's on his way back into town from Lubbock or wherever he works out of town and was planning on being present.
Okay.
And Your Honor, just so I'm not confused, am I at the point where I'm arguing my motion for continuance? Because I did have a few other points, but
Sure, I mean, that's fine, go ahead.
and Your Honor, one, just in light of the fact that this is pretty unusual for him. You know, in a perfect world, Mr. Hammond would be able to work all his services in a couple of months, and this extension was granted, 2 months ago. That hasn't given him sufficient time. Unfortunately, he was incarcerated for the better part of 8 months during the pendency of this case. I think if we are looking at all at a realistic chance of reunification, Your Honor, I think a permanency hearing would be more appropriate today and extend this. I think we still have at least 4 months that we can get this set out. And Your Honor, if he can't get things done, I will definitely have a very sincere conversation with him about possible relinquishment if he can't get it done at our next setting. I know at this point he's not prepared to do that because he's trying what he can, but with him getting back on his feet, no transportation, trying to stay employed, trying to work what services he can, including BIP, which we all know takes a significant amount of time. It's been very, very difficult for him, and he's doing what he can, and he, for what it's worth, his most recent drug screen UA has been negative, and I think he's gotten that under control, at least based on my conversations with him. So that'd be really all I have to argue, Your Honor.
Okay. From the department standpoint, have parents been, Ms. Corbett, have you seen an increased effort? I know we have a housing issue or did have one, but I mean, are you seeing an increased effort towards?
No, ma'am. Since our last hearing, you court ordered them to do inpatient and couples therapy, and they have both refused to do those services. He had even quit his job, and the only service as of last month that he was doing was his parenting. So if he started BIP or anything, it was recent.
Okay, I mean, I did order them to inpatient rehab followed by outpatient for the duration of the case. I did order them to couples counseling. Do you know, did they make any efforts to get into inpatient?
No, Alexandra said that she wasn't going to go because she couldn't go because she would lose her HUD housing. Ernest told me he wasn't going to go. Actually, the weekend after our court hearing, they used methamphetamines, and they both admitted to it. And he said he wasn't going to go, and he wasn't going to drug screen because there was no point. He had used. He did go last month. I tried to send both of them yesterday. I don't know if they ended up going, but they told me they were not going to go because we had court today. And I know Synacor even tried reaching out to Alexandra, and she didn't answer nor call back.
Well, my concern is that they've refused to do the probably two most important things in this case, which is drug treatment and the couples counseling, if they're going to remain together. He is not on parole, is he?
No, Your Honor, he had a state jail sentence.
Okay. So he's done with that.
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Hill, what is your client's position right now about the drug treatment?
Well, I believe, Judge, she's come to the realization that she's not going to save her housing no matter what happens. So I believe at this point now she's ready and willing to go to drug treatment, but that's my understanding.
Okay. Well, begrudgingly, since our dismissal date isn't until October, And because there's obviously some problem with Mr. Hammond attending today, and it doesn't sound to me like it's an intentional, he just chose not to show up. I'm going to go ahead and reset the final for September 5th. And we'll put that in on the 9 o'clock docket. All I can say, and obviously Mr. Morales, your client isn't present, but Ms. Knight is, when I order something, I mean it. And you know, the drug problem is one of the biggest factors in this case. And believe it or not, when I order something like that, I'm ordering it because I believe that is in your best interest, and one of the ways that you can try to salvage this situation and keep your kid. You know, I don't order you to inpatient treatment to be mean. I don't order you to inpatient treatment to punish you. I order it because it is painfully apparent that you need it if you have any hope of keeping this child. So, Mr. Morales, you can convey that to your client. I understand he's got a job again, but you know.
Judge, you know me, I will convey it very, very clearly to him.
Life is full of really tough choices. And, you know, for parents who make that choice to use illegal drugs and dangerous drugs, then, you know, there's consequences for those choices. And, you know, you can turn the ship around and you can change things, but you got to be willing to go do it. So you got a little bit more time. And that's all I can do for you. And that's all the time I can give you is until September 5th. Because we're running out of time completely. So, you know, you've got a lot to do before that. You need to get to inpatient, and then when you get done with that, you need to establish stable housing. I mean, it's a tall order, folks. That's all I can say. But I'm going to give you that window to get it to try to, you know, make a difference. Let's go ahead and just, I mean, we've covered a lot of it, I would say, as far as a review hearing, but let's at least go around the wheel and see if anybody else has got anything to add. But we will vacate the setting today and reset, like I said, September 5th. Okay. Ms. Corbett, anything further really to report about the child and or parents' progress or lack thereof?
No, ma'am. Other than if they didn't go drug screen yesterday, I would ask that we order them to screen today, please.
Ms. Corbett, they just did a hair follicle, was that last month in May?
Yes.
Oh, so we just need a UA today?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'll order it if they did not go yesterday. Okay, then
Judge, can we ask Mr. Hill's client if she did go?
No, she didn't.
okay, I'm going to order them both to go today before 4 o'clock. Okay, then Mr. Hill, anything further as far as the review goes?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, and Mr. Morales?
No, Judge, other than, like I said, if he cannot get what he needs to get done, you know, we'll have a serious conversation of the reality of what would happen. And I'm going to let him know that drug treatment is paramount. So I will call him and let him know that today. Hopefully, I know they're worried about the, you know, instability as far as they're not going to have a place to stay afterwards. But, you know, it's the bigger issues needs to be addressed first. And I will make sure that he's aware of that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Okay, Ms. Kincaid?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, Ryder's doing really well. He has made some amazing progress in this placement. I do know that visits were started back up in late May because both parents were negative on a UA. However, for both parents, that hair strand was positive in May, and for Dad, it was higher than it had been in February. Ryder was positive himself for meth at the beginning of this case. I am concerned about any continued exposure for him. So I really believe that any further visits should be dependent on how those drug screens show up today. And if parents no show to drug screens, I believe that those visits should be stopped as well.
Judge, I have a request too, once you're ready.
Yes, go ahead.
Due to the fact that the court had ordered both parents to go to rehab, I would ask that visits stop until parents complete rehab, or that they have to start rehab by the 1st of July, since we're on such a short notice.
Yeah, you read my mind. All right, so like I said, we'll vacate the setting and reset for September 5th. On a 9 o'clock docket, I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue the child's current placement. I'll find that there is a continuing danger to return the child home at this time. I find the department certainly has used reasonable efforts to reunify the family. I will order both parents to go drug test today before 4 o'clock. That'll be a UA.
Yes, ma'am.
And I am going to stop the visitation until they successfully complete inpatient drug treatment. And perhaps if they can go to the same facility, maybe they can get some couples counseling while they're there, and we can, track all of that at the same time. I mean, that would seem to be a logical thing to do to me. So I guess it's a question of, can we get them in the same rehab, and can they accommodate that? But Ms. Corbett, I would, I'd sure like to know if that's feasible.
I will check into that. I know we had them set up for some couples, but it was going to be after they got out of inpatient, which they never went to. So
Right.
I will definitely check.
And we're just running out of time. So if we can work on that while we're in rehab, so much the better.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'll see everybody back on September 5th on a 9 o'clock docket for the final. And, I want parents to understand that's it. I can't give them any more time after that. All right, then. Thank you all very much.
Those you didn't know, Judge Baker was not available today, so she asked me to cover for her. So that's why I'm here today in Potter County case on the final hearing. Mr. Trout's with us for the department. Ms. Zavallo's with us representing the child as attorney ad litem. Mr. Hill's with us representing the mother, Miss Knight. Mr. Hill, is your client with you?
Yes, sir. She's over my right shoulder.
Okay.
Back here.
Thank you. Mr. Morales is with us representing the father, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Morales, is your client going to be joining us?
Your Honor, it was my belief that he was. I spoke with him yesterday afternoon, and I did email him the link at his request, and so I fully anticipated him being here.
Okay. I don't have anybody in the waiting room right now. That accounts for everyone except for Mr. Hammond. I'll give it a couple of minutes just to see if he's going to try to log in. I don't know if you have any way to contact him. If you do, you might contact him to see if he's going to join us or not.
I'll do that, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
And Judge, I believe Ms. Kincaid is here.
I'm sorry.
I think she's the ad litem for mom.
Yeah, you're right. I missed her. Miss Kincaid is guardian ad litem for is it the mother?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now that's everyone except father. All right. Mr. Trout, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department would first call Heather Denicky. Yes. And how are you familiar with that case?
I'm sorry. Sorry, I interrupted. Mr. Hill, would you ask your client to take her hoodie off, please?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Trout. Go ahead.
That's all right, Judge. Again, Ms. Denicky, how are you familiar with the case?
I was the investigator on the case.
And how did the department become involved in a case with this child?
We received an intake at the end of March of 2023 saying that the mother, Alexandra, and the person we believe to be her boyfriend at the time, James, were both diagnosed with bipolar disorder and that they had been seen on Facebook smoking meth in the presence of Ryder.
Okay. And at the time when this report came in, did you know who the father of the baby was?
Not when the report first came in, no.
Okay. Were you able to, what were your first steps? Were you able to make contact with the parents?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Who did you make contact with first?
I made contact with Alexandra Knight and James Faulkner, who was a friend of Alexandra's living in the home at the time.
Okay. And where were you able to meet with them?
At their apartment.
Okay. Did you introduce yourself to mother?
Yes.
And what your reasoning for being there was?
Yes.
Okay. What was mother's responses to your reasonings?
She said that the allegations were not true. In the beginning, she said that they weren't true and that we could just close the case.
Okay. Had there been any looking into the family before this? Had there been any open cases or anything else going on prior to this?
There was a companion case with another family that was related to this case.
Gotcha. Okay. And where did it go from there? What did mother say about the allegations later?
So it was the same day that I first met with her. She finally did admit that she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but that she wasn't getting any treatment for that and didn't want to get treatment for that. And she also admitted that she had used meth in April. Okay. She said last April. Later on, though, she did admit that she used meth the week before.
Okay. Did she tell you at that time who the father of the baby was?
Yes, she told me it was Ernest Hammond.
Okay. And where was Mr. Hammond at that time?
He was incarcerated.
Okay. During your investigation, did you find out why he was incarcerated?
I did.
Okay. And why was Mr. Hammond incarcerated at the time?
I believe it was for domestic violence between him and Alexandra, and I believe there was a possession charge as well at the same time.
Okay. Do you know how long he had been in jail at that time?
I do not.
Okay. Did mother mention to you about why Mr. Hammond was incarcerated?
Yes, she did. She said that Ernest had beat her up and that he was found with drugs.
Okay. Where did your investigation go after that? What was your next steps after this?
Our immediate next steps were to put in a safety plan where her contact with her child would be supervised. I believe we did that with her. Is it her mother, Barbara Knight, or maybe that's her grandmother? And so she moved in with them.
Okay. Was there any back and forth on whether she wanted to move out of her place and in with somebody or have it just supervising? How did those conversations go?
So she did not want to move out of her place. She didn't feel like she needed to be supervised. She said the home that she was thinking, and Barbara's home had bed bugs and mice in it. She wanted to, after she did move in with Barbara, she kept saying she was just going to leave. She didn't want to be supervised and she was going to take Ryder and move out of the home.
Okay. During any of your conversations with her in meetings with mom, did y'all ever discuss whether Ryder was around when people were using meth?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And what did mother say about that?
Yes, she said he was around.
Okay. Can you tell me a little more detail about how that conversation went and what she actually said?
Yes. So she said that she used methamphetamines with some people named Kirsten and DJ, who were their neighbors, and that they used it around their baby, who's around the same age as Ryder, and they used it around Ryder also.
Did you question her on that?
Yes, I did.
I mean, as far as after she made that statement, did you inquire about that more?
I asked, what rooms they were in the house when it was happening, and tried to determine when that was. I don't remember getting an exact day. It was within that week. And they talked about being in the neighbor's apartments and in her apartment.
Okay. Throughout your case, during your investigation, did you and mom have multiple discussions about methamphetamine use?
We did.
Okay. And there's multiple times did she admit that she had used?
Yes.
Did she, and what did she tell you about the last time, the most recent time she had used?
She said that she had used it about a week ago. Is there something more specific?
Was it around the time Mr. Hammond went to jail?
I think so, yes.
Now, when you tried to put in a safety plan, mom went along with it at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. She signed all the paperwork agreeing to the safety plan.
Yes.
How did we proceed from there to a removal? What happened during the safety plan?
During the safety plan, it was determined that that Barbara Knight and her mother, I believe is Wendy, couldn't provide the appropriate supervision for mom and were not willing to provide that supervision for mom.
Even after safety plan was put in place, did mom seem to struggle with wanting to follow through with the safety plan?
Yes, she kept saying she was going to just take Ryder and leave.
Okay. And do you remember around how many days into the safety plan that was, or how long you've been doing this?
I don't recall. I would say, to the best of my knowledge, I would say it was within the first week.
During the safety plan before the removal, were you able to get in touch with Dad?
I think that I got in touch with him after we requested the removal.
Okay, all right. Due to mom being primary caretaker at the time, excuse me, let me ask that differently. Was mom primary caretaker of the child at the time?
Yes.
Okay. Mom admitted to using meth.
Yes.
And mom admitted to some untreated mental health issues.
Yes.
Okay. Safety plan was put in place.
Yes.
And mom made comments that she was just going to take the child and leave from where the safety plan was set to be.
Yes.
Okay. Due to those, Dad was in jail.
Yes.
Due to those concerns, the department felt it was in the best interest of the child to file for removal.
Correct.
Okay. And that happened kind of quickly, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Where was the child placed?
In foster care.
Okay. Now you mentioned you were able to speak with Dad after the removal was filed. Where did you meet with Dad?
At the Potter County Detention Center.
Okay. And did you let Dad know what was going on?
Yes.
And you stated Dad's name is Ernest Hammond.
Yes.
Okay. Did Dad have any, what was his response to the reasonings for the removal?
He admitted that to a history of domestic violence between him and Alexandra. He said that's why he's incarcerated. He admitted to slapping her. He also said that the police had found methamphetamines on him, and that they did charge him with possession of a controlled substance. He said he was selling the drugs at the time to help make ends meet. He did say that he knew that Alexandra had some mental health problems that weren't being treated. He knew that Alexandra used to use drugs, but he thought she had been sober for a year. And he also talked about his drug history, thinking that maybe he stopped using methamphetamines about 6 months ago, and that prior to that, he had used heroin when he lived in a different state.
Okay. Do you know, was Dad ever charged? He was in jail for, but do you know whether he was charged?
I believe he was, but.
Okay. Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibit number 6. It's a certified copy of a complaint against Ernest Hammond, and attached to it is a judgment of conviction. That is for the assault family member causing bodily injury that was testified to why he was in jail.
All right, objections?
No objection.
No, Your Honor.
No objection.
Petitioner 6 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And also, I would ask to admit exhibit number 7. It is an information that was filed in companion with that domestic violence that he was also in jail for on a possession of controlled substance.
Objections? All right,
No objection.
Petitioner 7 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Dennegy, after child was removed, you met with Dad. Did Dad ever give you any names of anybody to look at for placements? Do you remember?
I don't recall.
How how was child doing in the foster placement?
He was doing well. I believe they had some concerns that he had been exposed to methamphetamine, and so they were going to take him to get him drug screened as well.
Okay. And did they?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Did you ever receive the results back on those?
I don't think I received the results. I think St. Francis received them.
Okay. But child was tested?
Yes. And while I didn't receive the results, I believe I was told that he was positive for methamphetamines.
Your Honor.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibit number 1. It's an affidavit of business records that was filed with the court and served to the parties. It's certified copy that was filed with the court. Attached to it is the drug screens for the child rider.
Yes, Your Honor, object on conference clause violation. We have no ability to cross-examine any person that was involved in this testing to see if proper testing procedures were used, see if they were properly trained to use the equipment, things like that.
All right, that objection will be overruled. Any other objections?
No objection.
Okay, petitioner's exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Denicky, do you have exhibit number 1 in front of you?
I do.
Okay. And without getting into any of it, just plain reading of what the paperwork says. Does it state positive for methamphetamines?
Yes.
And does it have a level?
Yes.
What is that number?
I'd like to object on any testimony, just a continuing objection on any testimony with respect to exhibit 1.
Okay, I'll give you a running objection.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Denicky.
Yes, it shows a level of 33782, 3,782.
Okay. And just to your knowledge of it, just a plain reading, it does state that the child was positive at the time of the test.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hill.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Morales.
Ms. Denicky, were you aware of the results of the criminal dispositions for Mr. Hammond, or were you only aware as of today's date? Or were you, let me withdraw that question. Were you made aware of today's date, or were you aware prior?
I was not aware of the dispositions until today.
Okay. No pass witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Zavala?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, anyone else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Denicky, did the mother state whether or not the father was, at the time of the assault, whether or not the child was present?
I can't recall off the top of my head. Can I have a minute to look at my affidavit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I apologize. I cannot recall and I cannot find that in there.
Okay, that's fine. And did at the time or at any time when you said the father admitted he had assaulted the mother, did he say whether or not the child was present when that assault occurred?
He did not say.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, anyone else have further questions for Ms. Denicky? All right then, Mr. Trout, do you need her to stay or can she be released?
I have no objection to her being released, Your Honor.
All right, anyone else?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay. All right, Ms. Denicky, thank you for your testimony. I'll release you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Trout, your next witness.
Stephanie Corbett, Your Honor. And how are you familiar with that case?
I have been their permanency specialist.
Okay. Does St. Francis keep records of their cases as they go?
Yes, sir.
Are the entries in those records, are they made at or about the time of the events occurred?
Yes, sir.
Are they made by a person with not personal knowledge of those events?
No.
They're not?
I'm sorry, can you read? I guess.
Are the notes and reports made by a person with personal knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Have you reviewed the notes in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you a custodian of record?
Yes.
Okay. And were you the original, you haven't been the caseworker on this case the entire time? Have you?
No, sir.
Okay. But you reviewed the case notes prior to you being in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is St. Francis's first steps when you receive a case?
We do assessments with the parents. We create their family plans of service, child plan of service. We set up their services, and, do our best to help these parents get their children back.
Okay. Can you tell me what, family plans of service are?
It is a plan for parents that, of services such as, inpatient, outpatient, parenting classes, OSARs, that sort of thing.
Okay. And are family plans one means to help parents work to reunify with their children?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that done in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have what I sent out, exhibit number 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recognize what that document is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is that?
This is a plan of service for Alexandra Knight.
Okay. Was it filed with the court on May 11th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did mom sign this family plan of service?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And was this made in order of the court?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibit number 2. It's a certified copy of the family plan of service that was just testified to.
All right, objections?
No objection.
All right, Sister 2 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Corbett, would you look at exhibit number 4 for me?
Yes.
And can you tell me what that is?
It is a family plan of service for Ernest.
Okay, for Ernest Hammond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it filed with the court on May 11th of 2023?
Yes.
Okay. Did Dad sign this family plan of service?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And were these made in order of the court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibit number 4. It is the family plan of service for Dad that was just testified to.
Objection.
No objection.
Sister 4 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Corbett, during the case, how did mom and dad do on working their services?
Dad hasn't completed any of his services. Mom has completed some of her services.
So what services were required? We'll start with Dad. What services were required of Dad?
Do you want me to list all of them?
Yes, ma'am. Well, just list the first one. We'll kind of step through them.
He must comply with the original family plan of service and any omitted service plans and complete any and all court-ordered services throughout the life of this case.
Okay. What was one of the first services he was asked to do beyond that?
Maintain
if you would, please, if you're looking at the service plan, let's just go over each of Father's services one at a time and tell the court whether or not he completed it or not. That's usually quicker.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Yes. Okay, so I'm sorry, let me go back to the first one.
Let me step through them for you, Mr. Corbett.
Okay.
Has he maintained stable housing for at least 6 months?
He did, but him and Alexandra were evicted from their apartment, I believe, early July.
Okay. How long did they live in that up until July?
Since I have gotten the case, that's where they were.
Okay. Was Dad ever incarcerated during any time you had the case?
Yes.
Okay. So he wasn't living in that stable housing. He was a ward of the state at the time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has he notified you? Do you know where Dad lives now?
No, I do not.
Okay. Has he notified you of any change of residence, phone number, of employment within 5 days of that change?
No.
Has he maintained regular contact with you?
No, he has not.
Do you know whether he has transportation?
Last I know, he did not, but I do not know since June.
Okay. Do you know he's been able to locate and maintain stable housing, working utilities, and is drug free?
No, I do not know that.
Do you know if he's obtained employment with a legal income adequate to support himself and a child for 6 months?
I do not know. I have not been provided any pay stubs.
Okay. Has he been having visitations with the child?
No, those were court ordered stop.
Okay. Has he provided a negative drug screen for you anytime soon, recently?
No.
When's the last time Dad drug screened for you?
It was before our last hearing.
Okay.
So it's been a couple of months.
Okay. When's the last time you actually had contact with that?
May, June.
Okay. Has he completed parenting class?
No.
And this kind of piggybacks on the other, but has he maintained a drug-free lifestyle or abstained from illegal drugs?
No.
Did he do an OSAR?
No. I think, well, wait, I'm sorry. Can I look at my court report, sir?
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, he did. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you know when he completed the OSAR?
I believe it was in September of 2023.
Okay. Has he done individual counseling?
No, he has not.
He's completed anger management?
No.
Has he participated in batter's intervention and preventative program?
I believe he said he had started it a while back, but I do not believe he's finished it. No.
Do you have any personal knowledge or notification of a completion?
No, sir.
Do you have in front of you exhibits number 12 and number 13?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you tell me what number 12 is?
It is a court order.
Okay. Is it a permanency hearing order before final and notice of final hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you look at page 5 of that certified copy?
Yes, sir.
And at the top, is there any new orders put in place?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is that order?
Mother and father to attend inpatient rehab followed by outpatient services for the duration of the case until released from program.
Okay.
Order mother and father to couples counseling.
Okay. And can you look back at the front page and tell me what day that order was put in place or ordered?
On the first page,
Yes, ma'am.
it was filed on May 7th, 2024.
Okay. And the hearing happened, did the hearing happen on April 4th of 2024?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibit number 12. It's a certified copy of an order out of this court ordering mom and dad to rehab and to couples counseling.
All right, objections?
No, Your Honor.
No
All right.
objection.
Petitioners 12 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Corbett, exhibit number 13.
Yes, sir.
What is that order?
It says, oh, what is the order? I'm sorry. It is a permanency hearing order before final order and notice of final hearing.
And what day did this hearing happen?
June 18th, 2024.
Okay. And on page 5 of this order also, top of the page, what was ordered that day?
Mother and father to drug screen UA by 4 p.m. on 6/18/24. Order parents to inpatient rehab again, and visits are to be stopped until they have successfully completed rehab. If couples counseling can be completed while in rehab, then that needs to be completed at the time as well.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibit number 13. It is also a certified copy of a permanency hearing order out of this court that was just testified to.
Objections?
No, sir.
No objection.
Objection.
All right, petitioners 13 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Corbett, to your knowledge, has Dad done inpatient rehab?
No.
Has he done any outpatient rehab?
No.
Do you know if mom and dad participated in any couples counseling?
We called, there was not couples counseling available through the inpatient rehab places, but no, so they did not complete it.
Okay. Have they completed any couples counseling outside of rehab?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, you had stated earlier that during part of the case when you had it, Dad was incarcerated. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you know, was he incarcerated on the charges that we discussed earlier with the investigator?
I believe when I first got the case, yes, but he was incarcerated another time too.
Okay. Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibits number, and I don't know how I did this, but I kind of put them out of order. Exhibits number 10, 9, and 8. Exhibit number 10 is a certified copy of an order deferring adjudication. Exhibit number 9 is a motion to proceed with adjudication, and exhibit number 8 is the judgment adjudicating the guilt.
All right, objections?
No objection.
No objection?
No objection.
All right, petitioners 8, 9, and 10 are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Corbett, could you do me a favor real quick and look at Exhibit 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that the order deferring adjudication?
Yes, sir.
And does it say, what's the offense say?
Possession of controlled substance.
Okay. Does it state the date of offense?
7/17/23.
Can you say that again?
I'm sorry. I think that was preceding date of offense. I'm sorry. 3/11/23.
Okay. All right. And can you state the terms of the plea bargain? It's about 3 or 4 lines down from there.
Guilty.
Does it say 3 years deferred adjudication?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you look at exhibit number 9 for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is that heading of that?
Motion to proceed with adjudication of guilt on original charge.
Okay. And then exhibit number 8.
Yes, sir.
What is that? Is that a judgment adjudicating the guilt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when does this, right under that, date sentence imposed?
2/5/24.
Okay, so that was during our case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the date of the offense is 3/11/23 also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And punishment in place is 6 months state jail division at TDCJ?
Yes, sir.
Did dad was originally pled in as an alleged dad, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was a paternity registry search run?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you receive exhibit number 11?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you look at that for me?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what that is?
Certificate of paternity registry.
Does it state that anybody has made an intent to claim paternity?
There is no one.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask you to admit exhibit number 11. It's a certified copy of the paternity registry search showing that no one has intended to claim paternity.
All right, objections?
No, Your Honor.
No objection?
No objection.
All right, then petitioners 11 is admitted.
Thank
Your
you.
Honor, just for the record, it looks like Mr. Hammond has dropped out.
All right, let's give him a second to see if he comes back.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I think he froze up prior to that. I had noticed he'd gone completely still for probably 30 seconds or better.
Okay, we'll wait and see what happens here. Mr. Morales, did you try to contact your client again?
Yes, Your Honor. It rang one time and then it went to his voicemail. So I gave him a second just to see if he was trying to get on immediately, and then when he didn't, I called him and it rang
Okay.
one time and went to voicemail. So I'm assuming he's trying to get back on, but I don't know, Judge.
Okay, I'll give it just a little bit longer. Okay, I'm going to give it about Mr. Morales. I'm going to give it about 5 more minutes, but let me just ask you, Mr. Trout, is the department going to be asking today that I terminate Mr. Hammond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think I'd note that the dismissal date is not until October 4th. Let's give him about another 5 minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and recess if he doesn't come back. He did make an appearance. Department is trying to terminate him, and that gives Judge Baker another full month to reconvene this hearing. So I don't think she'd want me to, I don't think she'd like to try it again. So, since this is our last hearing, let's give him another 5 minutes just to see if he's having technical difficulties. So,
Judge, and I'll make a third call.
okay, yeah, that would help too. So, okay, I'll be back in 5 minutes. We'll see if we've located him.
And Judge, I have a question on that as far as recess. Since we're midway through it, is it you're going to come back and hear it, or are we going to swap judges in the middle of it?
I'm guessing I'll do whatever Judge Baker wants to do. I'm guessing she'd probably ask me to go ahead and hear it.
Okay.
I've got notes, but I think it would be more, it'd be a lot easier if I just finished it out. So,
okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll give him 5 more minutes and then we'll recess if necessary.
Same thing, Judge. It rings right out. I mean, it picks up right after the first ring, and it does it so consistently. It doesn't appear that he's ignoring my call. I would maybe his phone's dead. But it is very consistent. I get one call, and right after that first ring, it goes straight to the voicemail.
I'm sorry, Mr. Morales, I stepped away. Did you get the same result with the third call?
Yeah, and I did notice, Judge, it is very, very consistent and in between the rings when it picks up. So I don't get the impression that he's ignoring my call. I think it is dead. I think it's one ring, and then almost immediately after the ring, it kicks over. And it's been so consistent, I don't think that he's doing it intentionally.
Okay, all right. We'll just give it a couple more minutes, then we'll recess.
Thanks, Judge. Hey, Judge, if I may, can I ask Jody what my last question was, just so I can mark it down so I know exactly where I am?
Yes, sir.
Jody, what was my last question to Ms. Corbett?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
It says, your question was, does it state that anybody has made an intent to claim paternity?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I sent a resume date in the chat. So if everyone will look at that, please.
Rachel, that should be good to me. I think we just got review hearings that morning.
Well, I guess I better check with it too. If I'm gonna hear the rest of the final, it better be on a date that. Oh, hang on. Judge Baker's texting me now. I tell you, I think she can be with us in about 5 minutes or so. So let's just hang on a minute and be sure we're on the same page. And I think she's going to say she'd rather I hear the remainder of it. So
yes,
let's give her just a minute to see if she calls me.
Yes, sir.
And that's a Thursday, which is Judge Baker's day anyway. So I would be free at that 1:30 time on October 3rd to finish it out. So,
yes,
okay.
Sir.
Apologize for the delay, but I better run it past the boss before we do anything here.
I understand.
Okay, we've got Miss Kincaid in the waiting room. I'll bring her in.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Jody.
Yes, sir.
Did you take the first part of this or was it Amy? I can't remember.
I think I did. It was on the 5th, September 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Sure.
And Mr. Trout,
yes,
sure I'm on the same page. I still show that Mr. Hammond is an alleged father. Are you seeking to terminate him under 161.002?
Either way, Judge, yes, sir. If we were going to adjudicate, I put on testimony on all of it. I think we ended right after I admitted the paternity registry search.
Correct. Yeah, so I showed the last thing we talked about was that the paternity registry search, no one had claimed intent or claimed paternity.
Yes, sir.
And you were still questioning Miss Corbett.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to, going forward, I wanted to know what to listen for as far as how you wanted to terminate him.
Yes, sir.
Judge, you had mentioned the parents weren't there. I believe mom's with Mr. Hill, but on my end, Your Honor, after the call dropped with my client, I've made several attempts to contact him. I've yet to receive contact, so I do not anticipate that he'd be logging on today.
Okay, Mr. Hill, your client's with you?
She is not, Judge. Seated behind me are my client's mother and her grandmother. The lady over right there, that is Alexandra Knight's grandmother. She was with Alexandra at the last hearing in my office, but today I have Alexandra's mother and Alexandra's grandmother with me. They have, neither one of them had any contact with Alexandra today. She's kind of been off the radar for the last few days. I don't expect her to be here.
Are you intending to call either of these ladies as a witness?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, then we don't have to worry about someone invoking the rule. So, okay. All right. I don't have anyone in the waiting room. So I guess, Mr. Trout, we're ready to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Were you through with Ms. Corbett or is she your first?
I am not, Your Honor. I don't believe we have gotten into testimony about mother. We were just finishing up with the father.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Ms. Corbett, if you don't mute.
Ms. Corbett, when we were here last time, we had just admitted that piece of evidence for the paternity registry search. Is that your recollection?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so just to recap, Dad has not worked any services.
Correct.
He is yet to be adjudicated, but if the court deems it appropriate to adjudicate, would the department be asking for that today?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that it is in the best interest of the child to terminate the father's rights as to the child?
Yes.
And is that based upon failed to register with paternity registry search?
Yes, sir.
And in connection with that, if he is adjudicated, to terminate for failure to work services?
Yes, sir.
And constructive abandonment?
Yes, sir.
And do you believe that is all in the best interest of the child?
Yes, sir.
Have you had contact with Dad since the last hearing?
No, I have not.
Okay. Have you attempted to contact him?
Yes.
Okay. Text, phone, email, how have you been trying to get in touch with him?
I don't have a phone number for him. Alexandra, the last time I talked to her, said she would give it to me. I didn't get it from her. I've tried looking on Facebook because Alexandra told me he was no longer in Oklahoma. He was in Odessa. I tried searching the jails there. I didn't find anything to locate him.
Okay. And have you tried sending Dad since then to ask him to drug screen for you?
I have not tried to send Dad as I couldn't locate him.
Okay. All right. Now we'll switch over and talk about Mom. Mom's name is Alexandria Knight.
Yes, sir.
Exhibit number 2's already been admitted, was the family plan of service. So we'll kind of go through the family plan of service and see what mom has done. Now, she's worked some services, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when was your last contact with mom?
The day of court.
The day of court?
Yes, right after the court hearing.
How often have you tried to reach out to her and contact her?
She doesn't have a phone. Last I heard from her, she said she was living with her grandmother, Barbara. So I've communicated with Barbara probably about 2 times since the last hearing.
Okay.
Can I interrupt just a second?
Yes,
Jody, did I call the case and get announcements on who was present? I know we were kind of talking off the record, but
No, I don't think you actually did.
I'm sorry, I don't think I did either. So just so the record's clear, this is a continuation. This is cause number hearing that was begun on September 5th, 2024. For the record, it was recessed due to the fact that the alleged father, Mr. Hammond, fell off of the Zoom hearing, and we made at least 3 attempts to contact him, which failed. So we recessed to reconvene today. Mr. Trout is with us representing the department. Ms. Zavala is with us representing the child. Mr. Hill is with us representing the mother. And as he stated, he's had contact with her and he is not present. Mr. Morales represents the alleged father, Ernest Hammond. And again, he stated he's had no contact with him and he is not in the waiting room. I'm sorry, Ms. Kincaid is with us as a guardian ad litem for the mother, Ms. Knight. And again, she is not with us. So that accounts for all the parties. And there's no one in the waiting room. This case was scheduled for 1:30. It's now 1:40. And there's been announcements that they probably would not attend. So sorry, I forgot to do that. Mr. Trout, you may proceed.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So, Ms. Corbett, do you have the family plan in front of you?
I can open it. You said exhibit 2?
Yes, this is exhibit number 2.
Yes, sir. I have it open.
Okay. So mom was to provide the department or St. Francis within 5 days of changes of residence or phone numbers or employment. Has mom done that throughout this case?
Yes, she was up until recently, since last court hearing.
Okay. Has she maintained regular contact with you throughout the case?
No, sir.
Okay. Has it been, when you say that, has it been long periods of contact and then short periods, or has it just been sporadic?
Yeah, when she was in her apartment, I had to do a lot of unannounced because her phone not working. Sometimes she was there, sometimes she wasn't. So I'd have to contact the grandmother. Since she was evicted from her apartment, her contact I've only had contact from her once.
Okay. And when was she evicted from her apartment?
Was it June, July? So either late June, early July.
Okay. And then after that, she went into a rehab program.
Rehab. And she did call me once there. I'm sorry.
Okay. And so once she got out of the rehab program, where did she go?
She went to Barbara's house.
Okay. So she's been at grandmother's house since then, to your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been able to meet with her there?
No. I called, a week or 2 ago, and Wendy and Barbara both told me she goes there at night to sleep and then gets up and leaves during the day, and they don't know where she goes.
Okay. Does mom have her own transportation?
No, not to my knowledge.
Does she have stable and appropriate employment?
No, she does not.
Has mom had a job throughout this case or been unemployed throughout?
She's not had a job at all since I've taken this case over.
Okay. Did mom complete her parenting class?
Yes.
Okay. Has she maintained a drug-free lifestyle?
No, she has not.
Has she regularly tested for you?
She was for a long time, and then that kind of just fell off.
Okay. Do you have what I put in, or hasn't been admitted, but what I sent out is exhibit number 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said mom drug screened for you for a while, but not regularly?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibit number 3. It's the business records affidavit of drug screens that was filed and served to the parties. It was filed with the court on March 14th of 2024.
All right. Any objections?
No objection.
All right. Petitioner 3 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Corbett, throughout this case, has mom tested positive for substances?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And from what the business records state, what has mom mainly tested positive for?
Mostly methamphetamine.
Okay. When was the last time that she tested for you?
I want to say it was maybe June, with just off the top of my head.
Okay. Do you have your court report in front of you?
I can pull it up. Give me 2 seconds. I'm so sorry. Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. So per your court report, it looks like mom maybe tested for you in May and was negative on UA and positive on a hair follicle.
Correct.
Okay. And then she did not go in June.
No.
Okay. And then she was in rehab in July. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or
yes,
you asked her to go when she was in July, but she was in rehab?
Correct.
Okay. And then August, she was still in part of rehab then?
Yes, she got out the day before the last hearing.
Okay. So she got out around the September 4th?
Yes.
Okay. So in July, when she was requested, she didn't go?
No, she did not.
Okay. Have you asked her to go since the last hearing?
Yes, I called Barbara on September 20th.
Okay.
Barbara said she wasn't going to be able to take her that day. I advised Barbara that the testing site is open on the weekends.
Okay.
But she did not go.
Okay. And now in that conversation, you were only able to speak to grandmother. You were never able to speak to mom?
Correct.
Okay. Was mom not there, or they didn't know where she was?
She wasn't there. That's when Barbara told me she leaves during the day and comes home at night.
Okay. All right. So you tried to get her to go stream, but you're not sure if she actually got the message. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. But throughout the life of this case, mom has tested, few times has been negative on UAs, but has had hair follicles throughout this whole case positive. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there's few instances where she did not go test for you.
Correct.
Did mom do an OSAR?
Yes, I believe so.
Did she have recommendations out of that OSAR?
She completed one on 9/13 of 2023 and was referred to a 30-day inpatient to follow up with outpatient.
Okay. And at that time, did she ever do that?
She went and then checked herself out.
And went to outpatient or inpatient?
She started doing some outpatient, but she never completed that either.
Okay. And then she was court ordered in June to go?
Correct.
Okay. And did not go until first part of August?
She went the end of July.
End of July. Okay. Did mom did she ever go and is doing an assessment with Texas Panhandle Centers?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And were there any recommendations or any treatment that was recommended at that time?
She was on some medication for her mental health issues.
Okay. Do you know if she is compliant with that at this time?
No, I do not know.
Okay. Did mom do a psychological evaluation?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And were there any recommendations out of that?
It just showed that she was somewhat low functioning. So that's when we got Savannah.
Okay. Was recommendations, she was recommended for a parenting class?
Yes.
Which she completed parent.
She completed it prior to the psychological.
Okay. Habilitation case management, did she ever do any of that?
No.
Okay. Do you know what dual diagnosis treatment is?
Unspecified bipolar adjustment disorder, unspecified methamphetamine use disorder, encounter for mental health services for perpetrator of parental child neglect and spouse or partner violence physical.
Okay. Do you know if she's been compliant with any of that?
No, I do not.
Okay. Individual psychotherapy for child protection approach, do you know if she completed that?
No, she has not, to my knowledge.
Okay. And substance abuse treatment, she did go to a treatment.
Yes.
But she has not tested for you since.
Correct.
Okay. And has she worked with the local mental health authority to?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Did she complete her individual counseling?
No, she did not.
Did she participate in domestic violence support group?
No, she did not.
Okay. So at this time, would you say that mom was, did not comply and fully complete her service plan?
Correct.
And you're basing that upon what we just discussed in the, services she did not complete and recommendations she did not follow through with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you try to send a link to mom for this hearing?
No, I don't have an email address for her.
Okay, all right. And I know you communicated with Barbara, but did she have any social media or email address you can communicate with her through? That you know?
I found one for Alexandra, but there wasn't any activity since like 2022. Okay. So I supposed it was an old one.
Okay. Does mom have visits at this time?
No, sir. They were court ordered stop.
Okay. And court order stop, was she able to, given a plan to work toward getting those back?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
She needed to complete her inpatient.
Okay. And did she need to test clean?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She did the inpatient, but she has not tested clean because she hasn't tested for us, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How long ago was mom's visitation stopped?
It wasn't the last hearing, but I believe it was the hearing before in June.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, June 18th. I'm sorry.
Okay. So when was mom's last visit?
It was that week she had.
Okay. Do you believe at this time that mom can provide a safe and stable environment for the child?
No, sir.
Has she been given an opportunity throughout this case to work back to reunifying with the child?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe at this time that it's in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights of the mother, Alexandria, not as to the child?
Yes, sir.
And what do you base that on, the best interest for?
She has not completed her services. She's tested positive for drugs throughout the case, and she does not have employment, stable housing for her child.
And we put in an exhibit, in this case, exhibit number 1, where the child at the beginning of the case tested positive also. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
For methamphetamines?
Yes, sir.
Are you asking the court today to terminate the parental rights of the mother, Alexandria Nidas, to the child?
Yes, sir.
And that's your opinion for that and request is based upon the testimony that you've given?
Yes, sir.
And you do believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Yes, sir.
How is the child doing at this time?
He's doing good. We did do a legal risk and he got moved. And he's doing great now.
Okay. So he is in a placement, you said a legal risk placement?
Yes, sir.
To where if he does become an opportunity to adopt, that placement would like to try to adopt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you believe that's in the child's best interest?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Corbett, I'm looking back over my notes. It's been a month since we were here last, and I don't know that this was asked. You may not know. I don't have access to Potter County files, but to your knowledge, after being served, did Mr. Hammond ever file an admission of paternity in this case or a counterclaim for paternity?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Hill, questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Morales, questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Zavala?
Just a few. Ms. Corbett, Ryder has now been in care almost exactly 1.5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
And has he been thriving in care?
Yes, he has.
He was in one placement for the vast majority of this case and has now been moved to a potential adoptive home, correct?
Yes.
And he seems to be doing well there as well.
Yes, ma'am.
I pass the witness.
All right. Anyone have any follow-ups for Ms. Corbett? No? All right, then. Mr. Trout, did you have any other witnesses?
No other witnesses, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, witnesses?
No, sir.
Mr. Morales?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Kincaid?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. Zavala?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, then. Ms. Zavala, recommendations?
Yes, Your Honor. I do believe it's in Ryder's best interest for the parental rights for both parents to be terminated at this time. He has been in care for a full year and a half. And although he's done really, really well, it's now time, I believe, to give him some permanency. And I do believe that that's in his best interest.
All right. All right. Give me just a minute here then.
Judge Graham, if I may, real quick.
Sure. Yes, sir.
You asked Ms. Corbett the question. Dad did fill out a request statement of procedures for an attorney. On that, he did mark that he acknowledged he's the biological father of the child when that was originally filed.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you, the department, you want me to terminate on, you want me to adjudicate him and then terminate him for not working his service? Maybe you just go ahead and go under 002.
I'm good either way, Judge. I'm good with if you adjudicate and terminate under grounds.
Okay.
If you are inclined to go that route, John.
No, I'm good to go either way. So that's probably better. I don't have all the paperwork on this case. I don't know exactly when the petition was filed, so I'll do that. So. All right, then based on the evidence I've heard today, as well as the exhibits that have been admitted, and also based on the testimony concerning Mr. Hammond having acknowledged to be the biological father of the child when he requested a court-appointed attorney, I will find that Ernest Hammond is in fact the biological father, and I will establish that parent-child relationship today. I further find that it's in the best interest of the child that Mr. Ernest Hammond's parental rights be terminated. I'll terminate those rights today based on Texas Family Code, section 161.001, subsection B10. I further find that it's in the best interest of the child parental rights of the mother, Alexandra Knight, be terminated. I'll terminate those rights today based on Texas Family Code, section 161.001, subsections D, E, and O. I will name the department permanent managing conservator. I will continue Ms. Zavala's in this case as Ryder's attorney. All other court-appointed relationships will be dismissed after all appellate and de novo periods have expired. Mr. Hill, Mr. Morales, if you visit with your clients, would you inform them of their de novo and their appellate rights?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. It looks like I have here that the next review hearing will be on December 5th, 2024. All right. Have I missed anything? Did anybody know so? Okay. All right. Then that was all we had on the docket for this afternoon. So we will stand in recess. Everybody have a good rest of your week and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Judge.
Thank y'all.
Hey, Daniel. Daniel? Oh, you're muted. Will this go back to Judge Baker's court or will now it stay in Judge Graham's?
It'll go back to Judge Baker's court. Judge Graham was just standing in that day.
Yes,
I
yes,
know.
please. Yes, please. Please send
You
it
don't
back.
want to do her work? Oh, come on now. We're going to put it on your to-do list.
I'm gonna hurry and erase the live feed on this where she sees it. So. Okay, thank you, Jody.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge
We'll
Graham.
see y'all.